Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Explore Your Archive webinar. I make it just about 11 o'clock, so I think we will get started. My name is Lucy, and I am the IMechE's archivist, and I'm joined this morning by my colleagues Sarah and Ellen from the institution's library. Sarah and Ellen are on hand to answer any questions that you might have during the webinar itself. So please could you type those into the Q&A section, making sure that anything that you send is available to all panelists so that Sarah and Ellen are able to view and respond. Questions that are sent only to me as the host during the webinar aren't able to be answered, I'm afraid. So this morning's webinar should last for about 25 minutes, after which there's the opportunity to ask any questions and we'll do our best to answer them for you. And we will be recording this webinar and sending a copy of it to everybody who consented to receive it when you registered to attend. And that recording will also be uploaded to the IMechE YouTube channel as well. So let's get started. So I'm going to this morning run through a brief introduction to what an archive is, and more specifically, the sorts of material that might be found in the institution's archives. I'll introduce you to our virtual archive and our online archive catalogue, and I'll show you where you can find out more information about some of our collections. There'll be a Q&A session at the end, and then finally, I'll tell you how you can get in touch with us if you've got any inquiries or requests for access. So the big question, what is an archive? Archives contain material which have been created by individuals, groups, or organisations during their lifetime, which have been deemed to be worth keeping permanently for the purposes of research or as evidence of the functions and responsibilities of their creator. Archives often provide perspectives on economic, political, and social history, as well as recording the business and activities of that individual, group, or organisation. Archive materials might be a document, a volume, a photograph, a drawing, for example, and so on. Generally speaking, though, archives consist of unpublished material. If you are interested in published material, such as books, journals, or the IMechE's proceedings, these fall under the scope of the library catalogue. My library colleagues run regular library webinars, which you might wish to keep an eye out for, or you can watch a recording of a previous library webinar on the IMechE YouTube channel. And there'll be a bit more information about how you can watch past webinars at the end of this one. So because archive material is unpublished, it does mean that there's a few differences in how we store it and make it available. So we might invite you to make an appointment to view the material in person, or we might provide you with a digital surrogate. However, unlike library material, you can't borrow archive material. So what is in the IMechE's archive? We are primarily a paper-based collection. However, we are fortunate enough to have digitised a selection of that paper collection, which is available to view online. Our earliest material dates from 1726 and includes the papers of mechanical engineers, business records of engineering firms, records of the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, as well as records that relate to the merged bodies, which includes the Institution of Locomotive Engineers and the Institution of Automobile Engineers. And finally, artefacts, such as models and artworks. So I'll show you a few examples of the sorts of material that we have. On the slide here are some examples of papers that we hold of mechanical engineers. On the left is a piece of correspondence written by George Stephenson, dated March 1827, in which he discusses the projects that he was working on at that time. And on the right is an extract from the 1904 notebook of Henry Royce showing wheel design. And some examples of material that we hold from engineering firms include diagrammatic drawings, such as this general view of a Boulton and Watt steam engine from 1795, as well as these photographs, such as that on the left, which is from the D. Napier and Son collection, showing the manufacturing process of their Lion engine around 1918. And on the right is an example of a bus manufactured by John I. Thornycroft in the 1940s, being shown in action. And we also hold records relating to the IMechE and our merged bodies, and that includes membership proposal forms completed by individuals applying to become members, and council minutes as well, recording the decision-making of the institution. And then we also hold objects within our collection. So here's a few examples. On the left is a model Thomson water tube boiler. And on the right is a model of the Golden Arrow car. So now that I've introduced sort of what an archive is and what is in our archive and some examples of material, I'm going to show you how you can explore our collections online. So the first way that you can explore our archive is through our virtual archive, which is an online portal for some of our digital collections. So it features a selection of key objects, drawings, notebooks and photographs, which provide a perspective on the history of the institution and on the history of mechanical engineering. So the virtual archive can be accessed either by going to the URL, which is shown on the slide here, archives.imeche.org, or via the IMechE homepage. And hopefully what I'm going to do now is actually just do a live demonstration for you of how to do this. So hopefully now you've got the IMechE website on your screen. And if you click on the Library and Archive menu on the main menu from the IMechE homepage, and then scroll down, and you'll notice that there is a middle column here which is titled Explore Our Archive and Artifacts. And if you click on the Digitized Archive link, which sits beneath Browse Our Catalogues, that will take you through to our virtual archive. This is our virtual archive homepage. From here you can both browse the collection and you can also run a more specific search. So I'll just scroll through and show you what is here. So you'll see that we've created some themed galleries. At the top is our 175th anniversary gallery. We've then got artifacts, automotive, engines, industrial, institution history, railways, and then a collection of unidentified images. So what I'd like to do is just then actually demonstrate what's inside some of these galleries. So if I click first in artifacts, we'll show you one of our 3D ones. And I'm going to choose the steam hammer. So you'll see here that we've got a little bit more information about the steam hammer. And also there is the ability to actually have a look at this in 360 degrees. So if you click on the Start button, which is at the bottom left of the image, that will start rotating the image for you. and you can then press the stop rotating button, and you can also then just click on the right or the left arrow to have a look through yourself. And there is also a magnifier button in the top right hand corner which allows you to zoom in and zoom out as well. If you click on that, that then allows you to zoom in and have a closer look at something and then zoom back out again. So for lots of our artifacts, we have that 360-degree viewer. We're aware that though some are on display at One Birdcage Walk, there are also many which aren't on display. And so this is a way that we can allow access to them, even if they're secured away in our stores. So I'll have a look at one of the subject-themed galleries, and I think I'm going to choose something from railways. Click on railways. And I'm going to choose something from the Great Indian Peninsula Railway. So once you've clicked on a collection, you can see there are a number of items that exist within that collection. I'm going to choose this horse box. On the right-hand side, you get a little bit more information about that material. And then you've got a thumbnail which you can click on. And you can move around, have a look at the image, and zoom in and have a closer look at a detail. If you do wish to get in touch with us about something that you've discovered on our virtual archive, there is normally an archive reference, which I'm just highlighting now in blue, and that's a unique identifier for this material. So if you're interested in getting in touch with us, that's the sort of piece of information to give us, and then we know that we're talking about the same thing. And if I head back to the homepage, the other thing that you can do on the virtual archive, as well as just sort of having a browse through as I've just sort of done, is there is also a search box here in the middle and a search box at the top. They both do the same thing, so you can put a term in and search for something yourself, should you wish. So the second thing that I wish to show you was our online archive catalogue. So I'm going to just head back to the IMechE homepage. So I think first of all, it's worth me mentioning a little bit about the difference between the virtual archive, which we've just had a look, which has got sort of digitized images on, and our archive catalogue. So the virtual archive that we've just seen is an imaged focused way for us to showcase some of our digitized archive material. Whereas the online archive catalogue is the place that contains descriptions of all of our catalogued archive material, regardless of whether or not it's been digitised. So you can use the archive catalogue to identify material which might be of interest to you. And the way to get there is from the IMechE homepage. We'll click on this Library and Archive menu again. We'll scroll down to where we've got those three columns. And there's the Explore Our Archive and Artifacts column in the middle. And we'll scroll down to where we were a moment ago beneath Browse Our Catalogues. And there is a link here titled Archive Catalogue. If we click on that, it will take us through to the Archive Catalogue homepage. So the best way to search our archive catalogue for a specific query is by using this text box, which is in the middle, where you can enter a keyword or keywords and hit search. You'll notice that the default here is to match all words, and that means that if you're searching for more than one word, your results will include any catalogue entry that includes both words, even if they don't appear together in a phrase. And so I would recommend sticking to that default option. So what I'm going to do is search for jet pipe. And I'm taken, first of all, to a search results page, which shows me all of the results that include the two words, jet and pipe. And you can see that sometimes they're here together in a phrase, as in this that I'm just wiggling my mouse beneath at the moment. And sometimes they appear separately, as in this one that I'm just wiggling my mouse next to. So this search result page provides a summary and allows you to sort of have a browse through the results before selecting an item to have a closer look. So these search results include their unique identifier reference in the right-hand side, and also the title and date of the material. And to select an item, you can just click either on the reference number in the top right-hand corner or on the sort of title and date. And if you click on it, it will take you through to the record page for that item. So if you like the sound of it, click on that and you're taken to a little bit more information about that specific item. So the top part of the page here, which I'm just highlighting, shows where this record sits within our archival hierarchy. So our archives, like many others, have been catalogued hierarchically, which means that they work a little bit like a family tree. And this part of the page reflects that hierarchy. So this record, which is about a jet pipe, circa 1948, is sort of a bit like a child in a family tree. And it sits beneath this series of technical design sketches, which maybe is a bit like a parent, which itself sits beneath material relating to the NIAD engine. So that might be a grandparent. And it all sits beneath the collection of D. Napier and Son, maybe like a great-grandparent. And then you scroll down the page and you've got a little bit more information about this specific record. If there is an image attached, you will see that there is a thumbnail which sits at the top of the record. And then you've got some more information, such as its reference, its date, and its description. And there's a few things I'm just going to point out here, particularly if you wish to access this material. And the first of these is the extent field. And this will give you an idea of how much material this description is describing. So in this case, this is one item and it is one sheet of trace paper. However, sometimes one description might relate to more material. So you could be looking at something like 12 volumes. And obviously, it might take you slightly longer to look through 12 volumes than it does one sheet of trace paper if you're coming to visit in person. And then the other field, which is important to note, is this access status, the bottom field, which in this case is digital. And this means that we have a digital surrogate of this material, which actually you can see the thumbnail of above. So if you ask to access this item, we would provide access via the digital surrogate rather than the original. That is mostly for preservation reasons, in that there is less risk of damage to that original, particularly this trace paper, which is fragile, through us retrieving it and getting it out. We have fairly recently delivered a webinar all about searching our archive catalogue. So this is just a sort of very brief taster, but if you're interested in some more in-depth tips, then I would recommend giving that a watch. It's on the YouTube channel, which I'll show you towards the end. Going to head back to the IMechE homepage again, and I'm just going to very briefly show you how to access membership records, so IMechE membership records. So we'll click on the Library and Archive link again from the main menu. We'll scroll down to explore our archive and artifacts, and we'll click on that. And we'll then click on Find Out About the Archive. And if we scroll down here, we're taken to some ancestry links. So if you're searching for an individual who joined the institution between 1847 and 1938, these records have been digitised and are available via the family history website Ancestry, and they're indexed by name. IMechE members can access our collection of material on Ancestry as part of their IMechE membership. So you just need to log in with your IMechE website username and password. If you're a non-member, you can perform a search, but you require an Ancestry subscription or access to one, perhaps via a public library in the UK, for example, to be able to actually view the proper results. So I'm just going to click on the Members Ancestry link here, and I'm going to just log in myself. And you're taken to a search page, and I am going to have a look for an individual by the name of Frederick Henry Royce. And I can see here that there's a few results. I'm not interested in Frederick Campbell Rose, but a few down is Frederick Henry Royce. So if I click on View, that will take me through to his membership form. So on the right-hand side of this page, we can see the membership form for Frederick Henry Royce, who is written his occupation as electrical and mechanical engineer. And what is quite wonderful about these is this has been completed by the individual. So you're able to sort of see their handwriting. And you can flick through and you can see the back page on the left here of his membership proposal form. And you can see that he's a managing director in F.H. Royce and Co. Limited as of 1894. We have also recently delivered another webinar on accessing these historic membership records via Ancestry. So again, I've given you a bit of a taster here of how you can explore these, but if you'd like an in-depth look, I would recommend that webinar as well. Finally, I just wanted to show you a few other places where you can discover more about our collection. So we're just going to go back to the IMechE homepage and look on that Library and Archive menu. And we're going to scroll back down to our middle column titled Explore Our Archive and Artifacts. And here we've got a couple of links. So the first is our Engineers at War website, which is an online exhibition which uses our archive material and archive material from the Institution of Civil Engineers and the Institution of Engineering and Technology to highlight contributions made by engineers during the First and Second World War. And the second website that I wanted to show you was navigate to that same place. So via Library and Archive, that middle column, Explore Our Archive and Artifacts, and Archive blog. And it's where we share posts on items from both the library and archive collections, some of what we do behind the scenes, and some sort of new guides on sort of new resources and tools. So for example, here you can see that we've got an example institution examination from 1913. So if you fancy testing your brain on a Friday, you could have a look at that. We've got some behind the scenes about a piece of audio material which we recently made available, and we've also got a resource guide on ASME as well. So what I'm going to do is just switch back to our PowerPoint presentation. And excellent. And what I wanted to do was, I mentioned a few times about how there's other webinars available. So the IMechE has a YouTube channel which you can visit via the URL which is on the screen at the moment, or you can just go to a search engine and type in IMechE YouTube. Within the IMechE YouTube channel is a playlist which is titled Access Our Library and Archive. And on there we've got a number of different webinars. So there's a webinar introducing the library service, there's a webinar introducing the archive service, there's ones on using the archive catalogue, there's that one on historic membership records, so it's a really useful place to have a browse and have a look at these videos. As you can see, they're all sort of fairly short, to be honest, so hopefully they're sort of a bite-sized introduction, and you can go back to them as well should you need to. So really that is the sort of end of our Explore Your Archive webinar. I do appreciate that it is a very sort of whistle-stop tour to introducing our material. So we will be around if you wish to pop any questions into the Q&A session for the next sort of 10 or so minutes. And also I'm just leaving our contact details on the screen for you as well. So there's our email address, telephone number, and if you're interested in following us on Twitter or Instagram, we do have library specific ones of those, and also that's just the YouTube channel there as well. So what I'm going to do is just check in with my colleagues and see if there's been any queries whilst I've been chatting away.
Hi Lucy, just waiting for some questions if people have them in the Q&A, but I was thinking a question that we get asked a lot is about sort of using the digital images, so from the virtual archive. So you know, can people use those images from the virtual archive and download them?
So the images that are on the virtual archive, you'll find that you can't download them. But the best thing to do really is, if you're interested in something that's on the virtual archive, is to get in touch with us. And essentially we would just have a conversation about what your intended usage is, because it will differ slightly as to whether or not it's commercial use or non-commercial use. And we also would just need to double check the copyright position as well. So my advice would be to get in touch and see. We can then have a conversation. I can check those couple of details as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and so for example, if someone can't visit the archive in person, are we able to send them sort of digital copies of archive material?
Yeah, so again, it's a bit of a sort of a get in touch, and we'll need to have a conversation about it. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, we appreciate, particularly the last few years, that there's many reasons why it's not possible for people to actually come to Birdcage Walk in London and view material. So if we can, we would make it accessible. Again, there's a few things to cover. Do we already have a digital copy of it? Would we need to create a digital copy? How easy is it to create a digital copy? Is the material in good enough condition for us to do that? And then we'd also just need you to complete a sort of a copyright waiver form. So we could provide a copy provided it was for somebody's private research use only. So again, it's a little bit of a sort of not very definite answer, but yes, I think if you get in touch with us, then we can look into all of those things and go through the process with you in a bit more detail.
Yeah, definitely. I think an answer is always just get in contact with us about anything that we can help you with, and we're happy to help.
Yeah, quite a few. There's normally quite a few factors in play. So yeah, it's not necessarily a case of us just being able to sort of say yes or no without knowing a little bit more detail about exactly what's involved. But we're very happy to receive those sorts of inquiries, and we can look into those, no problem.
Yeah, definitely. And we get a lot of family history research inquiries as well, don't we? So how do people go about, you know, if they want to check if someone was a member, or any kind of records that we have that can help with family history research?
Yeah, so we do have quite a few, because we have those collections which are on Ancestry. So as I showed, if you are an IMechE member, then searching our collections on Ancestry is part of your membership. So you can have a search through, but it is worth bearing in mind that that is only individuals who applied before 1938. So there's some data protection law in play there. So we do have membership records after that date. So again, if you run a search and you don't get a result, do just get in touch with us, because it might be that an individual has applied just outside of the date range which is available online. Yeah, so you can have a look on Ancestry. If you don't have access to Ancestry, you can't get access to Ancestry, then please just get in touch, and we're able to run that search from our side on your behalf. And if it is a record which is on Ancestry which we already have digitized, then there's normally, if you're not an IMechE member, just a small fee involved in us making that available to you.
That's great, thank you. Yeah, yeah, I think you answer a lot of questions in the presentation anyway. So yeah, just seeing if anyone has any questions, but
Fabulous. Well, if not, then hopefully you know how to get in touch with us via email or the telephone number which is on the screen. And if you're anything like me, you'll think of sort of 20 questions 3 minutes after the webinar ends, then please do just drop us an email. So this has been recorded, and it takes us maybe a week or so just to process the recording and get it uploaded onto YouTube. Once it has been uploaded, what we'll do is we'll send a copy of the link to everybody, provided that you ticked the yes button when you registered. And it will also be uploaded to the IMechE YouTube channel as well at the same time. So I would say possibly in about a week or so that'll be available. If you wish to rewatch things, if you want to have a look and see exactly what was going on, which bits I was clicking on. So yeah, apart from that, thank you ever so much for your time this morning. And I hope that the rest of your Fridays go smoothly. I'll just leave this up here for another couple of moments just in case you need to note anything down. And thank you, Ellen, for passing on the questions.